Jesse, and I am here at PlaidFX, and we are so excited to be doing this class with Michael's Community Classrooms because we have the amazing Evil Ted here to teach you guys how to do some cosplay painting. So I hope you guys are so excited. I'll be answering questions, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll relay them to Ted while he's teaching, or I'll go ahead and answer you if I know the answer. But yeah, make sure it's interactive. That's the best part of these classes. So make sure you speak up. Make sure you do it for everyone too. Don't just direct message me, which is fine if you want to, but I'm sure other people have the same question. So if you've got a question, go ahead and pop it in the chat and I'll relay it to Ted. So Ted, go for it.
Hi guys, everybody. I'm Evil Ted, as it says right here, from the Evil Ted channel. I have a YouTube channel where I do tutorials on how to build costumes and props by using foam. As a matter of fact, if you're at it, guys, you can go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and go to my website, eviltedsmith.com, where I have videos and links for shopping and patterns for sale. So if you guys are into cosplay and a little intimidated, I have patterns out there, guys, get you started. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do some painting with what amazing PlaidFX paint. Now, PlaidFX paint is like most paints, it's acrylic-based paint. Now, I love acrylic paint. Acrylic-based paints is my go-to for most everything I paint. But the one thing about PlaidFX paint is that even with acrylic paint, or something that does a lot of flexing, it will stretch, but only to a certain degree until it starts to crack. But PlaidFX paint is designed to bend super flexible and not crack. So it's really great for something you know that's gonna get bent or curved. So I was thinking, I made a weapon. I made a fake rubber machete prop. I'm gonna make this kind of like a sci-fi cyber weapon. And what this is coated with is a particular product called Our Natural 60. It's a rubber making mold compound. It's made for making molds, but it's also great for sealing. If you guys want to know more about that stuff, I have that listed on my website. In my supply list, it's Our Natural. Go to that website, you can check it out. But anyway, I'm going to show you right now. See how super flexible this is? So what we're going to do is we're going to paint it with PlaidFX paint and still keep that flexible. So did you know with PlaidFX paints that you can airbrush that? I didn't. It turns out that PlaidFX paints can also be airbrushed. It's thick and you can thin it down with standard window cleaner. So grab some, this is the inexpensive brand. This is First Street window cleaner. We're gonna be adding this to the PlaidFX paint to do some airbrushing. So I realized I'm gonna mix it, do a lot of thin coats. PlaidFX paint is applied usually with a brush, and the trick with Plaid is that you put on a coat and you let it dry a little bit, and then you put on a second coat, multiple layers, you let them dry between coats. So we're gonna speed that up by using a hair dryer, and I'm gonna apply it on evenly with an airbrush. So to prevent myself from refilling the jar on my airbrush, I have a little flow cup, which is right here. I'm gonna put a jar on it. So we're gonna take this jar and put some PlaidFX and thin it down. So guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch this camera into build mode. So here we go. There we go. Ta-da! There. Now, I have my PlaidFX paints. This is my rubber machete. So we're going to go ahead and put these guys aside. So again, everybody, if you have any questions for me, I can answer and build at the same time. I can do it. It's true.
Multitasking.
That's multitasking. What we do is we have my jar right here. We're going to go and for the base color today, I love it. This is the PlaidFX. This is the, I call this one Samurai Sword. It's kind of a really dark metallic. I'm going to make that the base. There's some other ideas. I don't know quite how much, certain colors I have in my mind, but I want to see how things look. But I know for a fact, I definitely want to do this as the whole base. So, oh my God. Ugh. Hold on, guys. It goes to show you, you need to clean your threads when you take off the, there we go. Okay, got it.
Good tip.
So, I'm gonna pour a little in my cup. Give you guys some close-up back.
Yeah, it looks really shiny already out of the bottle.
Okay, there you go. A little thick, great. Yeah, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff on the threads. Hold on. No, anyway, tell you what, we'll deal with that later. It's showtime right now. Okay, let's go and put this on. Set it over here. Now, I'm going to take some window cleaner I'm going to add just a little bit because basically it's a 1-to-1 ratio. You want to add about the volume of paint you have of the volume of window cleaner. So I didn't have a lot of paint, so I'm going to add just a little bit. Seems right. Okay. Let me grab a stir stick. Hold on, guys. I thought I had one in front of me. There we go. This is pretty big. Let's crack that down. Get inside. Gonna stir this up a little bit. And yeah, it's chemistry here because PlaidFX paint is relatively pretty thick, but by using the window cleaner, breaks it down, and it still allows those cool little flexible little metallic bits in it to still show through. Oh, looks great. Okay, good, good, good. This looks awesome. So now I'm going to load up my airbrush. So guys, while I'm doing this, does anybody have any questions about cosplay or making or painting? Don't be shy.
Somebody just asked, do you need a sword for this class? And I was just about to tell them that you can use these techniques for any cosplay. You don't need to have a sword. It's just sort of some general awesome tips.
Yeah, what it was is that, yeah, I'm using this mostly for an example. I had built this just for this class so we could do this, but no, you don't have to. It's just a good compound, a good paint to put on anything as a cosplay. And I've discovered one thing too about metallic paints. If you like something to be really vibrant, it's always good to paint metallic on top of a black base. Now, if you have a piece of white foam and you have some PlaidFX paint, you can spray it on there, but to save the metallic paint, make sure you base it out with black first. I find that black is a good base color for anything metallic. Therefore, you don't have to use as many coats of metallic to have something show through.
That's a great tip.
All right. So now I got my airbrush. This is my pache. This thing is amazing. I put this thing through so much. So now we're going to go ahead and hook it up the jar.
Hey, Ted, quick question.
Yes.
What did you use to seal the sword?
Ooh, again, thank you, everybody. This is our natural 60 rubber. It's a compound made for making molds. It's a rubber that you brush onto like little items. It's mostly for people doing like antiques and whatnot. You can brush the rubber on top of a piece or a filigree of something you really like, and you do multiple coats until it dries. You peel it off and it makes a mold, but it's super durable. So I used it and thinned it down with distilled water and sprayed it through my spray gun to coat it. And again, if you guys want to know more about that, I have it listed on my website. It's called Our Natural 60, I believe is the name of the rubber. But it's just rubber. But again, you don't have to have rubber. It can be Mod Podge. It can be Plasti Dip. It's whatever you choose to coat it with. The reason I picked rubber is because it's super flexible, so we can put the paint to the test. So now we got our metallic base in here. Let me open up my airbrush. Come on. Make sure the valve's in the right direction. Hold on. Oh, I know what the problem is. This is clogged. Hold on, guys. I have to swap lids.
Okay.
Stand by. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Yeah, so guys, make sure, like I said, if you have any comments, if you just want to say hey to Ted, put your questions in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. And again, Ted is using PlaidFX paints today, which is our flexible acrylic paints that's made specifically for EVA foam. So it's flexible for you're making armor, prop, whatever it may be. You don't have to worry about cracks or tears while you're wearing it at conventions. So yeah, we're pretty excited.
There we go. Yeah, I got my old, again, this way people clean your brushes. Don't do as I do. That was not
do as you say, not as you do.
What? Oh, hold on, this is not going to fit either. Good grief. Where are my tips? Oh, guys. We're going to swap out. We're going to take this and put this jar. Sorry, guys. This is going to be
no worries.
Quick switch over.
Chris said the joys of live presenting. They're an educator, so they totally understand.
All right, there you go. Let's do that. All right. Make sure the tube is facing that direction. Get that in there. All right.
Hey Ted, what model airbrush are you using?
Oh, I'm using a Pache airbrush.
Okay. So is there a specific like model that it
As a matter of
is
fact,
for
yes,
Pache?
it's listed on my website. It's the I think it's the Pache 200. It's like yeah, it's a picture of the brand of airbrush. Shows you how much I prepped. Yeah, it's listed on my website. It's the one I always use. Hold on, get this guy going. Come on. Come on. You know, I'm realizing it might need a little bit more window cleaner. Hold on, let me just do a.
Okay.
Might be a little on the thick side, guys. Hang with me. Let's go back to my flow cup. I made this whole big presentation about the bottle, but let me see if we just get it to the flow cup. It says it's already pre-mixed. Yeah, it's exact. I can tell right now. I'm looking at it. It's a little on the thick side. Let me just thin it down just a little bit more.
Emily said, we love seeing these steps as it helps us not to make similar mistakes.
Yes, because I make a lot of mistakes.
And then Amy said, what would the outcome be if the paint was brushed or sponged rather than airbrushed?
Oh, it works just as well. Airbrush has been one of my personal favorites, but with Plaid, you can definitely use a brush. I recommend a soft bristle brush and just do, yeah, see, there it goes. Yeah, these jars, I think the tips are all clogged on them. I have to go back, clean these things. All right, anyway, so here we go. Now it's working.
There we go.
So what we're going to do is we're going to lay down a thin coat. Dial it back a little bit. Okay, there you go. And as you can see, you can actually see the color coming right out on it. See? Look at that.
Yeah, it looks great.
Now, what it is that I want to dial this, I want to go very thin because you don't want to start dripping. So I'm going to put on a very, 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 very thin coat. Make sure.
So you kind of like to go thin and then you build it up, I guess?
Yes, I want to go thin because if you go, here's the thing. If you go, because it's thinned down quite a bit, and what I do is you put on too heavy, it will drip, and you'll get runs. You don't want to get any runs. So I'm going to hit this very lightly. I'm going to do one side. We'll do the handle here real quick.
Hey Ted, do you know how much airbrushes cost, like on the average?
They vary. You can get inexpensive ones from like 20 bucks, 30 bucks. Harbor Freight sells them cheap. I think you can get a good airbrush for under $50. You know, it's like you can, if you want to step up, there's some that are even like up to 100. But a good airbrush is roughly about $100 or if not under, like 60, 70 bucks for a good airbrush. But if you're starting out and you really are tight on the pocketbook, I know the company Harbor Freight sells a really good inexpensive airbrush just to get you started. And if you like it, then I definitely want to step up to a better airbrush.
Cool. Do you feel like when by using airbrushing instead of painting, do you feel like you save paint that way? Do you use less paint?
You know, I've never really thought of it of saving paint as much as I have just controlling the flow and how much like, I mean, yeah, I mean, to a degree, yes, you'll save paint, but it's not, I like it because I can put it on evenly and control it.
Okay.
And the thing is with painting, it's all about the brush strokes. And when you're painting stuff, it's getting that brush stroke. But with the airbrushing, you put on colors nice and you guarantee having a good solid even color. All right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it looks really smooth. Emily said the coverage looks great so far, super smooth.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, with Plaid, it's definitely designed to be applied with a brush. You just have to be patient and do a lot of thin coats with it. And if you use a soft bristle brush, it's very limited. You can do it with virtually no paint without any brush strokes on it.
Awesome.
I did my, I did a war axe for my costume using PlaidFX paint. I did that all with a brush, and all the metallics I did with a brush. And the end result looked amazing. There was virtually no brush strokes from it.
That's awesome.
And what I'm going to do is I'm putting it on thin enough that it's drying pretty quickly. But once I do enough of this, I'm going to hit it with a hair dryer.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start to see it coming together, this color.
Yeah, it looks shiny already.
Now I'm holding the handle because my plan is I want to paint this handle black. So I'm not going to really worry so much about the handle as much. I'm just going to focus in on using that as my spot to hold it.
We have another question from Daisy. They want to know, if you apply acrylics with a brush, do you sand with a fine grit sandpaper between coats?
Oh, no need to. No, it's like, it's with paint, especially with acrylic paints and PlaidFX paints, is the paint itself is very adhesive, so it will stick to itself. That's one thing tricky about aging. Like if you're into cosplay and you're making a armor piece and you paint it with acrylic paints, that if you go to age it with acrylic paints stick to itself so well that sometimes the aging sticks more than you want to. It's that tricky thing about watering it down just enough to get it enough to wash off. Because I've always found that acrylic paint's very good about sticking to itself. So you don't really need to prep it at all. I'm going to try to set this over silently, get a hair dryer. And we're just going to do a quick little dry pass on this. See, the color looks good, but you'll watch as I put it on, it'll get even brighter. And that's what I want.
Oh, yeah, that looks good.
So let me just hold on. Let me pull a little more of my.
Saranya said, "Cool pink hair dryer."
Oh, thank you. That's my. You know, I have a my hair dryer is named Molly.
Oh, okay.
You know why?
No, why?
Molly Ringwald from Pretty in Pink.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. One of my friends named it.
That's very cool. So if it ever dies on you, you need to make sure you get another pink one, though, for sure.
Yeah, well, I had it. Yeah, this is to replace the one I had. See, again, guys, already this is the second coat. Look how much brighter it looks.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Flipping over. So all you people out there who are watching, if any of you guys picked up my molds yet from Michaels?
Yeah, let us know if you guys are working on any projects at home, if you're working on any cosplays or just cool projects in general. Let us know what you're working on. Let us know if you've gotten a chance to grab some of Ted's molds or some of our PlaidFX and use it. We'd love to know what you're making.
And I'd like to say that our PlaidFX paints and my molds are in the cosplay aisle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it's the DIY aisle. I think it's the do-it-yourself aisle. Because originally we started off we were just a tower. We're just an end cap. And the sales and everything were doing well enough that Michaels actually gave us an aisle. So we're in the DIY aisle.
Cool. Emily said the gear molds look like a lot of fun to use. And Jeff said he's got most of the molds and he likes the skulls.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, the skulls turns out to be the most popular one so far. People love the skulls.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Chris said they are working on an original Mega Man cosplay by adjusting your helmet pattern and building patterns for the arms and legs.
Yes, excellent. That's what I love hearing.
Awesome.
Is taking my pre-existing patterns and adding to them and making something of your own. Mm-hmm. That is awesome. Thank you. Tom
is building their first Mandalorian cosplay. Body armor is proving difficult, though.
Yeah, it takes some time, but the Mandos are cool. They're really cool.
Yeah, it can be tricky for sure, especially if you're trying to make your own.
Yeah, but I'll give you a heads up. Both Punish Props and Odin Makes has Mandalorian helmet patterns for free on their website. So if you go to if you go to the YouTube channel and you want to make your Mandalorian costume, Bill has a Mando helmet pattern you can get, and Odin did the infantry helmet, and they're all free downloadable patterns. So this is looking good. Let me get on that. Let's hit this with the hairdryer one more time. As you can see how much brighter this is looking now. So I think another coat will make it just a little bit brighter. The thing I like about the paints too is that usually when you dilute something, you're always afraid of losing the integrity of the color. Like it's not going to be as brilliant as this or as metallic. And it's just sticking to it and doing the layers. It keeps coming through. So it's the more coats I put on this, the more and more the color becomes brighter.
It looks really great already. That's just 2 coats, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna just for extraness, I want to definitely get a 3rd coat. Let me open this up a little bit more.
We've got someone who says they're in the middle of building a garnet cosplay, and they're currently making glasses out of an orange acrylic sheet. That's pretty cool.
Oh, cool. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, to the top here. Everybody, really quickly, let you know this is we're going to do this as a 3-part video series. This is our first step, and the main focus today was doing the airbrushing. And I knew this was going to take a little bit longer because I'm going to do layer by layer, so it's a little bit of a take a little bit more time. But definitely, guys, this is if you like this class, I recommend you come back and sign up for the other 2 classes. Now, what are those dates for the classes again?
Let's see if Stacy or Catherine can pop that in the chat. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but I bet they do.
Because I think it's every Friday for this.
I think so too. I think it's the next 2 Fridays.
The next 2 Fridays.
Saranya has a question. How many coats do you advise to get the shine and depth of color? And is there a number that we should not exceed?
It's usually you can tell by your eye. It's like when you're airbrushing, it goes on pretty darn thin. The thinner it is, the more durable it is. I know people like to think, well, the paint's thicker, it'll be tougher. And it's not, it doesn't work the same way as like anything else does. The thicker paint is, the more likely it's going to peel or crack. I always find the trick with paint is the thinner, it's getting on multiple thin coats opposed to 1 or 2 heavy coats. So yeah, and this color, as you can see right now, this is, you can see from the black handle from where we started, and you can see how brilliant it is. And this is just by doing this. It's our 3rd coat, right? Are we on our 3rd coat?
Yeah, I think this is the 3rd. Yep.
Yeah. It just, I think it's always better to put in a lot of thin coats. It goes on evenly, it looks better, and overall, it's a lot more durable.
Hey, Ted, Amy wants to know, is a mask needed when you're using this in the airbrush format?
Yes, if you're working in a enclosed area and stuff like that, but it's acrylic paint. It's not toxic. It's not like you're using enamel paint or anything. So this is all just acrylic paint. But normally I would be wearing a mask, but since I'm streaming and talking at the same time, I kind of, I just have a big open up shop area. But if you're working anywhere like an enclosed room, like your bedroom or a garage, I always find it's best to use a ventilation, get a window open. Like if you have any place where it's always good to have if you're in a room, open a window, but make sure you open, like you need a draft. You open 1 window is not going to do it. You need to have another window open somewhere so you can get a draft going. I have a spray booth off to the side here, but it's very big and very loud. So I just figured since we're just doing acrylics, we're going to be safe here. Plaid is not toxic.
Yep, yeah, it's all water-based. So, you don't want to breathe it in, just like you only really want to breathe in air. You don't want to breathe in anything but air. But no, it's non-toxic, like Ted said.
Which is wonderful. It's interesting. It reminds me of a story I will share with you guys. I work in the movie industry, and I got really wired in my brain to when we're making stuff or molding things, we had to use like really like industrial grade paints and all this stuff. And all that stuff is super toxic. All the urethanes, the paints, the automotive stuff. And that was about 5 years ago. I've been doing a lot of stuff. And I'm telling you right now, all the stuff that I work with now that's available to the public is just as good, if not better. And it's also non-toxic. So it's nice. It's just nice to know that you can actually get stuff that looks just as good as what we use in the movie industry, but you have to worry about the money and the toxicity level.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's looking really good. I'm really happy with this.
Yeah, it looks super shiny on camera.
Yeah, just but I'm just I love it so much. I'm gonna do one more coat.
Okay.
I have it and I still do it, so I just want to do one more beauty coat on this. But again, those guys, these are great questions. If anybody has any more questions, please in chat, please let me know what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. People were just asking about when the classes were, but our friend Stacy at Michaels dropped those in the chat. So they're September 18th and September 25th at 3 p.m. Central Time. So 4 p.m. Eastern. Chris wants to know, Ted, how did you get into professional prop making?
It's a good question. I moved out here in '89. I was very young. I was 25 years old. I moved to California. I had a friend that came out, and I was intimidated like anybody in the beginning. I didn't really have any idea what I want to do with my life. And my friend came out and came out to California in less than a couple of weeks. He was working on some zombie movie. And I was like, wait a minute. You've only been in LA for a couple of weeks. You're working on a zombie movie? That's it. So I gave like a madman, I gave my 30-day notice at my job, packed my entire life in a U-Haul truck, and I moved out to California. And I came out in the golden era where they were making movies there was a lot of movies made for video. It's all the VHS day. So movies had a new audience and a new outlet, was not just movie theaters, but straight to video movies. And so they started making movies for video. So there was tons of work. And so I came out at the grand time and started working. I just bounced from shop to shop to shop. And when I worked, I just learned so much by working with other people and gaining knowledge. I was pretty savvy as a builder, but I learned more by working with other people and their techniques, much like the cosplay community right now, is that people are learning from watching and learning from other people. And so I've gotten where I have today because I've learned from other people. So everything I've learned, I want to pass on to you guys.
It's very cool. We appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, this looks great. Look how shiny that is. It's crazy.
That looks so good.
All right. So what we're going to do now, I believe that is plenty of coats for this color. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. Now, as you notice, I'm not setting it down because it's still wet. So I'm going to hold this until I get a hair dryer, dry this up. We're going to get Molly really quick. Let's get Molly on it. Get this dry so we can put this down.
We love the questions, guys. So even if you have just personal questions for Ted like that, if you want to know about his career, feel free to drop those too. This is a great opportunity to get to talk with Evil Ted. So make sure you guys are popping those in the chat. That's a good question.
And just very lightly.
That looks so great.
Okay, now I can say enough to set it down for a moment. Okay, good. And yeah, the spikes look really dangerous now. Now the reflection on them, it's nice.
That looks so good.
Okay.
We've got a couple more questions, Ted.
Yes, I love questions. Go.
Tom wants to know, when did you and Bill Duran first meet?
Oh my God, that was that's a good question. That was, I believe, was BlizzCon 2016. I went to, we knew of each other, and well, I mean, we met because I started doing this, and he was very helpful, and had all these questions and things. I had questions for him, and got started, but I didn't actually meet him until we were at BlizzCon together, and that was a great time. That was our first time to hang out and just to chat face to face. And we have plans of doing stuff together, and then of course the pandemic struck, so we're all homebound right now.
Yep. And for those of you who don't know, Bill Duran is another super talented cosplayer. His business is Punished Props, so check him out too. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah, this is real. I'm just to kind of show you guys the reflective quality. So now it kind of gives that metal effect. Now the key to getting this great look is that sealing your foam. If you have really good foam, heat seal it and then put something on top of the foam first, so it creates the illusion that the paint. Now, PlaidFX paint is pretty thick, and you can brush it on straight on the foam. But I always recommend, if you want to do something to make it last a little bit longer, make sure you always seal your foam first. And again, this is with rubber, but if it's not rubber, you can use Mod Podge, Plasti Dip, and just always, there's a PVC glue, I think, which is basically like Elmer's glue. A lot of people have different techniques of sealing foam in different countries, so it's always interesting. But it's always like sealing the foam first. But this looks great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a soft bristle brush. Let me show you this again. A soft brush. Yeah, say that 3 times fast. Keep this handle black. I think it would look really good if it was black. No, I don't need to airbrush that because that's all good. So I think these hard lines here, and just paint this black, look much better. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab me a soft bristle brush. All right, there we go. Get some brushes. And this is pretty wide. I have a big one. This is going to be the most to coat, but I want to get a fine tip for doing the edges. This is always good to do the broad strokes, but when you get to the edges, it's always good to have a finer brush. So I'm going to grab one of those.
Okay. That's a good tip.
Again, brushes are always funny because people always ask me what kind of brushes. I always get the cheap ones because I trash them. I always avoid brushes.
So we have a hard question. I have a feeling it's going to be hard anyway. Jay wants to know, what is your favorite thing that you have ever made?
You know, I used to have usually my loaded answer for that is always the last thing I made. But it's funny. There's things I've made I'm really proud of, and there's things I want to make and I haven't made yet. It's always hard because every time you build something, you always want to challenge yourself and make the next thing better.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most challenging thing I've ever done, that was a nightmare to work on, but I was very happy how it all came together. It was a TV show back in the 90s. Oh, no, was it 80s or no? It was early 90s. It was called VR Troopers. It was a kind of the same guys who did Power Rangers did that show, and I was in charge to build these suits. It was a Japanese TV show bought from Japan, and they didn't have the suits, so I had to reproduce the suits that they had in Japan. And it was a hard job. It was a horrible job, and because it was just the deadline was crazy, and the guys who were working for it were terrible. But when it was all done, they looked amazing.
That's awesome.
That was very funny. But my favorite thing, that was hard work, but my favorite was I worked on a film called The Guyver. It was a sci-fi action film, and I got to design and build the Guyver unit for the movie.
Cool.
So that was it's a sci-fi movie about a kid who finds a alien artifact that has basically it's a living suit of armor. So when he calls upon it, the suit of armor jumps over his body, kind of like Iron Man. So it's kind of a living organic armor, but it's aliens, which makes the human like a super indestructible soldier. And
that is awesome.
Yeah, very popular anime, and then turned into live action movie, and that's what I worked on. I got to work on that and build the prop for that as well.
Very cool. So Ted, what is the color you're using? Is it carbon?
Hold on, this is, it says right here on the side, PlaidFX paint, and it is called Carbon. Yes, this is, that young lady knows her paints. This is Carbon. Hold on, guys. Really, I'm going to put some rubber gloves on because I can feel my hands, and the paint's a little sticky, and I don't want to leave any oily fingerprints or impressions on it. So I'm going to slip a glove on real quick.
That's a great tip too. Yeah.
Yeah, because the paint, it's dry, but it's tacky, and nothing can attack paint like oily fingers and stuff like that. So we can. Normally, I would let this dry, but since we're here live with you guys, I figured I might want to make this more of an effort to get it done.
I've seen people painting Ted with a glove on, and sometimes I think it's just water-based paint. Why are they wearing a glove? So that's a great tip. It's to protect your prop, not to protect your hands.
Not so much your hands is, but when you work in the movie industry, yeah, most of the time is to save your hands and the paint jobs, because paints. When I worked at the prop house, the one thing that drove me crazy was we work on big budget shows and movies and stuff. And the going joke is we always knew the prop was leaving because it was the day we're painting it. Like we very rarely had time for anything to dry. So everything we did, we had to do it so quickly because the turnaround time was so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have to sit here with hair dryers and speed things up. So yeah, just a matter of time. We're always running out of time. We're always like, and I always kept telling people, can you just ask for like 2 more days or something?
Yeah, if only.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, as you can see right now, I'm just focusing on this one side right now.
It looks really great. Just that one coat looks like it's got a lot of coverage.
Oh yeah, on the black, this does not need a second coat. This is
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is because, guys, again, I'm not airbrushing this. I'm fine with a brush, and the pigments in the PlaidFX paint is really, really strong. So you're just doing one thin coat, and this carbon is super, super, super dark, and it's doing just what it needs to do. I'm just doing one thin brush, thin coat with a soft bristle brush. And the reason I use the soft bristle is therefore it doesn't push the paint. It just gently lays it on.
I just saw too, Jeff popped a link in the chat, and I was wondering what that link was, and he found the IMDb page for The Guyver, the movie that you were talking about. So
there it
you
is.
have to go check that out too.
Yeah, that was, I moved out. That was one of the bigger, I worked on a lot of visual effects films. That was my first live action show where I got the build props and I played 2 of the monsters in that show.
That's cool.
I couldn't end up directing it, and that's how I got pulled onto that one.
He said, Evil Ted Smith as Ronnie. Is that on the page?
Yeah, I played a gang member. There's a very small scene where our hero turns into the guy for the first time. And what forces him is he gets jumped by a bunch of hooligans, and I am one of the hooligans. I thought it was very funny is that my name was Ronnie, but not once did anyone ever call me Ronnie or call out to Ronnie. That was just an inside joke that was my name.
That's pretty funny.
I thought it was Ronnie. But yeah, this is going on really beautifully thin. Now, once this is all done too, there's clear coats and things you can put on stuff. One thing about the clear coats, I've always found that sometimes it will knock down the finish or take away the illumination of something. So I don't know if I'll probably put a clear coat on the handle, but leave the metallic finish as is.
So when you put clear coat, it makes it less shiny. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it kind of dulls it. You know, there's different brands of things. My favorite is Kumbacher. Kumbacher makes an acrylic spray. I love, because when I usually build my costumes and props, I always end up sealing it with an acrylic spray after doing all the aging and weathering on it and make sure all the paint stays on it. So
yeah, that's a good tip.
But the metallic, I might want to do an experiment, like paint a little bit of a foam piece with this paint and hit the clear coat first to see what it does, because I'd hate to do this and then have it dull it at all. So, for the shine, I love this. I like the metallic sheen.
It's a very good tip.
Does anybody have any questions? Please, I am.
Yeah, where somebody just posted a link to a brush cleaner and said it's their best friend or their brush's best friend.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I love, because I always trash brushes. So I should get a good brush cleaner is probably what I need.
Yeah, somebody's asking, can you use a fan instead of a blow dryer?
Well, yeah, you can. The blow dryer, and also sometimes when I'm using the blow dryer, I don't use the heat.
Okay.
It's not the heat so much as the moving air that dries your paint quickly. I learned that really quickly because sometimes you gotta be careful. The heat will damage the paint if you get too close to the hair dryer. So it's not the heat. It's just the moving air. I learned that from a friend. We're working on some sets. We had to paint these flats, and we're painting them, and I was like, it's gonna take forever to dry. And he came with these 2 box fans, and he put them on the flats and turned them on full blast. And within a couple of minutes, they were dry completely.
Oh,
And
that's
I
cool.
thought, oh, and he told me, he goes, it's moving air. You just gotta have air moving on something. If it's still, then it means it's gonna sit there and just take forever to dry. As soon as you get some air moving across it, it speeds it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've definitely overheated acrylic paint projects before, and it's not a good thing. So
It'll blister on you.
yeah, it'll start bubbling. It'll kind of like melt it and burn it. That's not what you want for sure.
Right. So if you're impatient, just take that hair dryer. And all hair dryers have an option to where you can turn the heat off or pull a trigger. Like when you're styling your hair, it has cold air. Just press that button, and it will stop the heat and allow it to dry. And I got one more spot right here. Yeah, it's a good question. Does anybody have any other questions, people?
Yeah, we've got one question. Do you ever buff metallic powder to emphasize shine?
Yeah, I used when I worked at the prop house. We had these metal tins full of metal powders, and if we were doing rubber props that were either silver or gold or metallic or whatever, we would brush the powder in the mold, and the black urethane rubber we would use would grab that metal powder, and so when you cast it, the powder was impregnated in the rubber itself, so it would never come out. So we virtually wouldn't have to paint the prop, because the metal powder was embedded. I use metal powders sometimes for little highlights and stuff, and graphite powder. But it's just, again, there's so many great stuff out there you have in paints, and rub and buff looks so great. Now that I don't work in a prop house, I very rarely use that anymore. So, but good question. It's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. May wants to know, how much designing do you do before you implement a project?
That is a good question, because I should design more. And the reason I say it, because I am one of those guys that kind of like, I get lazy. When you're building a costume, it's always best to kind of draw out a format of what you want. It's always good to have a foundation to start with, like do a sketch or a rendering. Because if you're building something, you want to know what the backwards going to look like. And so I get with my friends, I'll get in these build modes where I draw like I build like I draw, like I see it in my head, and I can build it faster than I can draw it, because the drawing has always been my weakest part. But if I'm doing something that needs to I need to plan things out, what kind of materials I need to get, you really should draw it down. So yes, do as I say, not as I do. I would recommend, yes, always draw. Try to lay out what you want to do. What that does, it gives you and allows you a better idea of what you need to get supply-wise, foam-wise. Like if you have armor, if you're gonna make a chest, shoulder, legs, and thigh, you realize that I'm gonna need X amount of foam for this kind of thing. It's always good to draw things out. As a cosplay I want to do in the future, and I realize that's one of the things I have to do, is I have to sit down and kind of draw things out. And I haven't done it because I'm lazy, but I need to do that. So yes, draw them out.
Probably saves money too.
Yes.
You only buy the supplies you need.
Okay, now we're going to clean this brush really quick here with some water. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you.
Emily said they tend to wing their design process and they got to learn to draw things out too, just like you.
Yeah, because what happens is you're like, where's this thing going? So here's what happens is that sometimes your design that you'll build is actually going to end up being better than the drawing, but the drawing is a good guideline. So it's your design, so it's up, you can improvise on it, but it's always good to have a drawing. Because the one thing I learned working in the pop house in the movie industry is that when they give you a drawing, you can't improvise. They want that drawing exactly. And the downtime, sometimes you'll come up with something that's better than their drawing and their design, but it doesn't matter. That's not what they're paying you for. They're paying for you to build what they want. So you have to stick to that. And that's why I love cosplay, because I spent years building what other people wanted. And now I finally can build what I want to build. And that's the fun.
That's awesome.
All right, what I'm gonna do is you can see a little bit of a wet spot here. So I'm gonna hit this with the, let me grab Molly really quick. See, now we can see, like, see how it has a nice matte finish? If you look on the other side, you can see where it's not dry yet. So you make sure that's all dry. All right. Again, now this is completely dry. You can see, make sure all the spots are good. Yes, again, there's some little edges. Again, I can see where I missed. So I want to take a brush, do a little bit of touch up. This is what's so great about having different brushes and different scales, different sizes for detail work. Now I know people are thinking like, I would let that go, but for me, I'll just like, I'll see it and it'll drive me crazy. So I'm gonna go back in here very carefully.
Perfectionist. Tom said, working out a good template beforehand is probably the most important step in cosplay, especially for armor. One thing they still struggle with is getting the measurements right because it's so hard to measure themselves.
Right, that's where I've discovered is making a duct tape body form of yourself. There's plenty of videos out there and people and tutorials on how to do that. I highly recommend it because it's, people bought, I have a couple of mannequin dress forms here at the house, but for people who don't have that, what you do is you just get a t-shirt, a long t-shirt and some saran wrap and some plastic and a friend, and you can make a good duct tape reference of your body, your torso, your shoulders, your neck. And there's videos out there on how to do that. Definitely check them out and once you make a body form that you can place, because you can't, it's so hard to, like you said, it's hard to measure yourself. Having a duct tape body form off of yourself, it's so helpful. And not only that too, is you're making that pattern off of your body form. So when it's all done, you know for a fact it's going to fit you perfectly. And it's cool because it's you in front of you. So it's easy to make your measurements because you don't have to measure yourself. You'll have a dummy of yourself in front.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing to do. Actually, I think I think I must have learned that tip from one of your videos, Ted, because a few years ago I was making an armor for my then boyfriend, and now we have this giant duct tape torso of him that for some reason we didn't throw away for a long, long time. It was just kicking around.
Yeah, it's funny because I have a friend, I want to do, there's a costume I want to do is on my list of down the road. And it's going to involve a little, I have to wait till the pandemic's over because I'm going to need a bigger space to do it. I have a friend who has a shop, but I can't go to his shop right now because everything's on lockdown. But I want to do a full body costume. And in order for me to do that, I need a full body duct tape. And he's really good. He's done numerous ones before. So I'm going to have him do a nice, and of course, don't forget everybody, I'm going to do a video of that. So you'll get to watch the experience of me getting wrapped in tape and making a full body form of my body. And that's my thing, and I'm going to do, and I, definitely want to do that soon, but have to wait till the the fire's over. All right, so here's what we got so far. We have the base color handle. This is all nice and black, and we have the metallic finish again. This looks, look how this super shiny again. This is so nice.
Wow, yeah, that looks great.
How are we doing for time? How much time do we have?
We have 10 minutes left.
Okay, really quickly on 10 minutes. I'll tell you what, this looks fantastic. We're gonna sit this down, everybody, and let this dry. We're gonna swap cameras around real quick. Hold on. Sorry for the shaky camera, everybody. Sorry.
No worries.
All right, fantastic. Just my camera a little bit. I want to thank everybody who joined us today. Again, this is part one of a three-part series. I'm working on this. This is the rubber sword prop painting with PlaidFX paints. And again, everybody, these colors we're using, you can also get at your local Michaels store. But there it is. Look at that. It's coming together. I'm holding it very lightly because the paint's still very fresh. But you can see the metallic machine.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
So everybody stick around, because what we're going to do next is we're going to start adding different colors to this. I'm still going to stay with the metallic colors we have. I'm thinking about painting these spikes a different color. I'm thinking about maybe doing the this band here a different color, and the rivets also a different color.
Oh, cool.
Have this come to life and be a little bit more vibrant. Does anybody have any more questions that anybody had asked?
Yeah, we've got a couple more. Margaret wants to know, do you have any thoughts on when you think the cons will come back?
Yes. Matter of fact, here's the first thing I want to say. They will come back. I know everybody's really, I know people are really freaking out. I have a lot of fans and cosplayers, people that write to me and like going, oh my God, Ted, you know, like I'm losing all this momentum and I don't have con dates. I'm not building anymore. And this too shall pass, people. There's been pandemics before this one, and everybody's gotten through it. We will get through it. And the cons are coming back. They say that there's a vaccine coming, hopefully next year. I think realistically, probably the end of 2021 and 2022 will definitely have cons back. And trust me, I'm the first to admit I miss going to cons. I miss engaging with my fans. I miss showing people stuff. I miss sitting at a booth, doing workshops, doing panels, meeting people. It's like helping people is what got me into this, and interacting with people has been one of the highlights of this convention. Doing cons and doing the videos is getting to meet people. So yes, it sucks, but it will we'll be back.
Well,
So,
there's a follow-up question from Emily from that question, and she wants to know, how are you staying motivated without the conventions?
it is a struggle. I set myself up to do things. I make things where I have to do it. I make myself, what's the word? Liable. It's like, I set deadlines for certain things. For example, I was struggling with a lot of stuff, and then PlaidFX Paint reached out to me with Michaels and said, hey, we'd love to do this online class with you guys. And I said, okay, I will. So what that do? That motivated me, because I had to do it. Michaels wanted to do this, Plaid wanted to do this, and so they asked me, and I said yes. So therefore, I had to make this sword. Therefore, I had to get up this morning and get the paints together and get things set up. It's like you need to set things to make to where you have to. If you rely on yourself sometimes, it's kind of hard, because then you'll just put it off. Stay in bed and watch Netflix. So the thing is, it's start setting things. I'm going to do this Saturday, this coming Saturday, I'm going to be doing a live Q&A for Comic-Con Portugal. It's Comic-Con Portugal is happening this weekend, and apparently I have a huge fan base in Portugal, which is amazing. And they said that we'd love to have you on, so I'm going to be doing that on Instagram. I believe tomorrow around 1 o'clock, I think around this time as well. But I do things like that makes me have to show up, and it's just, you need to set a deadline. And I know that we all have Zoom and Skype and stuff. Start chatting with your cosplay friends. Start seeing what they're working on. If you guys aren't a fan of Twitch, Twitch is a great format, and I just watch other people build. And sometimes if I build in my shop, I'll put somebody on the background and hear them by myself. It's like, I lurk on their channel just to hear people building and them chatting. Sometimes I don't engage because I can't, 'cause I'm working on my own thing. But but it's just something to make you feel that, just makes you feel that you're not alone. You know, reach out to community, reach out to your friends, because I know it's tough. It is.
Yeah.
And it's a long-winded answer.
No, that's a great answer, Ted. And like you said, I know there's a lot of virtual conventions going on. So look for those kind of things too, you know, ways to reach out, because everybody's in the same boat, which is kind of the best part of it. At least you're not alone for sure.
Right. You know, you're definitely not alone, people. It is hard. And I have a video I'm working on right now. It's a video tutorial on how to make my Space Marine helmet for my costume. And the patterns are done. I have them in my shop. I'm working on my pattern done is in the shop. It's getting ready to go. And I'm going to post all this when the video's done. And right in the middle of this, the editing's done, but the PC crashed and so it died. So everything's being held up a little bit. So now my big thing is to get this PC fixed, but that is coming soon. I got a bunch of cyberpunk pattern things I'm working on. I'm pumped about the cyberpunk game that's coming out. So I got some patterns for that coming. Cyberpunk inspired, not so much from the game, but more inspired by it.
Yeah, that's cool. Someone said somebody made a pretend we're at DragonCon group. I guess maybe they mean Facebook. So that sounds pretty fun. I'll have to check that out.
That is very DragonCon group. Oh, so funny.
That is funny.
Really quickly, guys, speaking of Facebook, I have a Facebook group called Evil Ted's Foam Fanatics. It's a really great forum for people that are builders, especially I cater to the newbies. If you're new to cosplay, you're really intimidated, and you're building something you don't know what to use, and people write to me all the time. I go to my fan mail. It takes me about once a week to get back to my fan mail. I get it to I try to get to it like every week. But if you need an answer to a question immediately, you go to Foam Fanatics, you post something, and it's international. So if somebody's always up at 24 hours a day, can answer your question. When you join the group, all I ask is you answer the 2 questions so we know you're not a bot, and you're all good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Somebody just dropped the link to the Facebook group in the chat, so you guys can click on that and go ahead and join. And also we have an awesome PlaidFX Facebook group that we're trying to grow. So
what? I didn't know that.
Yes. Well, Ted, you'll have to join. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes left. So do you have any parting words, Ted, or?
Yes, this too shall pass. Everybody hang in there. This is tough, I know. Also, everybody, I stream on Twitch as well. I stream every other Monday and Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I also have a YouTube channel by the same name, the Evil Ted channel, and my website, eviltedsmith.com. While you're there visiting my shop and buying patterns, get on my mailing list. If you get on my mailing list, I keep you up to date on current events, or if something's coming up, or next con I'm going to be at. There's one called Costume Con that's not until 2021, and I think I'm most likely going to make that one. So because it's next year, so I got my fingers crossed for that one. Yeah. So if all goes well, because if it doesn't happen, I'll still do it virtually. Either way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Ted, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I know everybody, based on the comments in the chat, has really enjoyed this. It's been awesome getting to learn from you and getting tips. Everybody, make sure that you sign up for Evil Ted's next couple of classes. So I think they said it's the 18th and the 25th, same time. So join us to see how the sword goes. And we want to thank Michael's Community Classrooms for having us, because this has been so much fun. I think this is a really great way for people to stay connected during this time, especially without the convention. So thanks everybody for joining, and we hope to see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye guys.
Bye.